It's very good to be here. Make some noise if you love oxygen, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. Somebody in here likes to breathe, so do I. It's like a compulsive habit. I do it every day. Now, personally, I believe that a poet should have a sense of beauty like a comedian has a sense of humor. Sense meaning the faculty to detect. And I can't think of anything more beautiful than the source of beauty, and that is this planet that we live in. Give it up for the biggest rock star on earth, the earth herself. Thank you. All right. So, the ancient people referred to nature as Gaia. And so I wrote a poem to her like I would write a poem to my woman. And this is, I love her so much. Okay. This poem is called Garden of the Gaia. There is a car that runs off of air. True story. It weighs less than 1,000 pounds, and its only emission is cleaner air. I drive a frickin' used Buick LeSabre. It was more handsome than the more fuel-efficient car that I could have bought, but its paint job had this feature that deflected women away. I made a choice. Like many, I wish that my will to do good were at least half the size of my carbon footprint. It's like this big, massive boot size 7 billion and counting with enough weight it can stamp out creatures bigger than we are. We turn the rubber and the soles into erasers for names like Balaenus mysticetus, the bowhead whale, Panthera leopersica, the Asiatic lion, Pongo pygmaeus morio, the golden orangutan. How can we be so certain these are not sentient, intelligent beings when 300 years ago, if you wanted to hear me read a poem, they'd have made me do it from the inside of a cage. My, how times have changed. The culture, not as drastic. It's not surprising that the same mind that invented chain smoking is now burning down the rainforest. That's the cliche part. But if for every time you put down a pack, another acre grew back, would it be enough to make you quit? That there is the growing pain. But see, they don't make nicotine patches for a logging addiction, so the environment ends up getting it worse than the rubber tree that gave its life to make the latex in your condoms. And we don't touch the earth anymore. When's the last time the dirt underneath your fingernails was actually soil? When I was little, I had a garden, and my parents forced me to see that loving the planet is a lot easier when it's not something that you're afraid to actually put your hands inside of. For every surface in this world, there's a creature created to love it. And of all of these tiny creatures, my favorite were the bees. You see, to a bee, a garden is a city where the skyscrapers grow out of the ground, and every level is an all-you-can-eat food court with wings like jetpacks in the absence of elevators, but when they puke, it's something you'd actually want to put on your Cheerios. Who's the superior species? Well, let's see them try their hand at Guitar Hero. But the most beautiful part of a bee is its stinger, because it only gives it one shot to harm another being, and at that point it must sacrifice its life. Would you sacrifice yourself to protect the same pine tree that died to make the deck of your patio? At least when you shelter a tree, you get to stay alive. What could we learn if we allowed them to breathe? Because one day, I want to write poetry as perfect as the way that God writes water into the veins of a leaf. Last October, I saw a maple that autumn turned so red it looked like a sculpture of a frozen flame. So I stared at it so hard that its bark grew from my pores, and this tree is what I became. I was only gone for a second, but I came back with a message. Trees speak with their roots, and what they had to tell us is that we are all tiny creatures in the garden of the Gaia. Our cities are stone sculptures that hold the heavens up when the mountains would no longer suffice. And we are one consciousness shift away from turning this earth into a technological Eden where the air car that I want doesn't float above my pay grade. So you want to save this planet? Start by appreciating what's left of it. Don't you know that the grass always knew that you were a guitar hero? Because since you were a child, it's been letting you crowd surf on its hands as you looked up to the sky and began to understand that you were just a tiny creature who would cease to exist if this garden ever ceased to keep giving. Thank you.